What's up, YouTube? I'm making a tier list ranking different lengths of fasts, and I'm going to be looking at it from the perspective of fat loss. For a bodybuilder trying to cut after a bulk, and I think fasting is very underrated for bodybuilders, or just a regular Joe trying to lose fat, right? Um, there are probably some esoteric health benefits to fasting, like autophagy, growth hormone increases, stem cell release, perhaps, things of that nature. I don't like to get into that too much just because we can't really directly observe that happening in our bodies. Just because there are some studies that show that that happens at a particular length doesn't necessarily mean that you fast a certain number of days and you're automatically going to get stem cell release, or you're automatically going to get a certain hormonal reaction that was observed in some studies, right? So I prefer to stick to things that we can directly observe in our own bodies, like the scale, the mirror, and just how we feel, right? I think that's a more practical perspective to go off of. That being said, just looking at it from a perspective of getting the most fat loss you can for the least amount of suck, fasting absolutely does have advantages over things like calorie counting 100%. But not every length of fast is created equal. So I want to rank them here so you know which ones are going to give you the most bang for your buck and which ones are probably not optimal and are probably a lot of the reason why fasting has had some pushback recently. And in the process, we'll clear up some misconceptions. And I guess I'm doing it shirtless this time just because I got off a 4 day fast. I'm looking a little bit leaner, showing off a little bit of the cuts. I'm not down completely shredded yet, but looking a little bit leaner. And everyone likes to comment saying that I don't have any chest, like you never train chest. No, I just don't flex chest. And I'm also usually fatter than this because I bulk um, during the winter, so it doesn't really show off as well. I'm not trying to be the perpetually shredded influencer that never actually puts on any size. I'm trying to be better each year, so only in the summer months do you see me at a more in a more optimal presentation, right? But anyway, we're getting a little leaner, so I just want to show off a little bit. And yeah, I did a 4 day fast. We'll see where 4 days fits into the tier list in just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of my weight loss for the month done in just a couple days, so that should give you an idea of what the benefits of fasting are going to be. But let's get into it. Let's compare the different lengths because there are definitely ways that you can make it work for you better and ways that are going to be a little bit overrated, a little bit harder to get the full benefits of fasting from. All right, let's get into it. All right, so we're just going to go in order from shortest to longest. So let's start with 14. Now, 14 hours, I mean, that's barely even a fast. That's really just skipping breakfast. You're almost certainly not going to get a lot of the esoteric hormonal benefits. You're probably not going to get any autophagy beyond the extent to which calorie deficits create autophagy anyway. It's unlikely you're going to get anything crazy in terms of growth hormone, certainly not stem cells or anything like that. It's pretty much just skipping breakfast and barely even a fast. That being said, a lot of people would like to skip breakfast anyway. They just don't want to eat breakfast. And so it kind of makes sense that if you're trying to eat fewer calories, why would you eat calories at a time when you don't want them anyway? It makes perfect sense to just not eat the calories at the time when you don't want them anyway. So if that's you, then a 14-hour fast or just skipping breakfast is a great idea. That being said, there might be times when you don't want to do this. I mean, some people say that if you eat a high protein meal for breakfast, that's going to make you eat less calories overall than if you skip breakfast. I don't think that's true for me, but you can experiment with yourself. And also, like, if you have to be high energy, productive during the middle of the day, you probably don't want to do this because you're definitely going to get an energy crash if you skip breakfast and eat lunch. So if that's the case, either eat breakfast or just go on to a longer fast. But yeah, I mean, if you're trying to lose fat and you don't want breakfast anyway, why on earth would you eat additional calories you don't even want? So we're going to put it solidly in B tier as like useful, I guess, but not anything great. Okay, let's move on up to 16. Now, this is the most popular type of fast by far, the 16-hour fast, 8-hour eating window, popularized by Martin Berkhan, Kinobody, all sorts of people. I mean, pretty much everyone's tried it. I think this this duration of fast is simultaneously overrated and underrated. It's overrated because while once you adapt to it, it will initially make it easier to eat fewer calories naturally without having to count calories or anything like that. In general, I think you're going to be able to adapt to where even if you do a strict 8 hour eating window, you can still easily eat maintenance or above in that window. People tend to fall in love with the 16-hour fast kind of early on and then fall out of love with it later, right? You're probably still not getting a lot of esoteric fasting benefits from it. It's probably purely calorie restriction at that point, and it's not necessarily a great strategy by itself. Now, that being said, if you are already counting calories, tracking your macros for whatever reason, not that I recommend that, but if you are, it might still be easier to, put them into a compressed eating window and it'll be easier for you to eat what you need to eat in that compressed eating window. But as like an active fat loss method, as a method of creating a deficit, I think it leaves something to be desired. I think it's very popular among people who want to have a good physique, among bodybuilders or fitness folks because people are paranoid about losing muscle, and it's pretty easy to wrap your head around the idea that you can, skip breakfast, skip lunch, but if you eat during the day, you're not going to lose muscle. So I think that's why everyone goes to 16, and that's also why it's overrated because it's the thing that everyone's trying to do, but you're really not getting that much benefit out of it. It doesn't make it that much easier to create a calorie deficit just by itself after you've adapted to it for a while. And in fact, it can be kind of miserable to, go through the morning, without eating if it's a time when you would normally like to eat. Now, we're going to get into why it's also underrated in a second, and you'll see kind of the contrast. But if you're just using this as a way to to actively create a deficit, I would say it's overrated. Here's where it's of benefit. Number one, to unlock any of the other fast durations on this list, you're going to have to practice something akin to a 16-hour fast. It doesn't have to be 16, it could be 15, 17, 18, 20, whatever the case may be. Just not eating for most of the day, right? Nothing's magical about 16. You can add, subtract an hour or two, whatever. But anyway, you're definitely going to have to put in some extended practice with that kind of duration to get comfortable with moving on into the longer fasts. So, for that reason, it's definitely valuable. And once you've done that, the other thing about that is you are going to start breaking that food addiction where you don't feel like you need to eat constantly. Like, if I haven't eaten by noon, I'm going to die. I'm going to lose all my muscle. I'm going to, you take hunger as like people treat hunger like pain when it should really just be, I mean, I don't know, like an itch, maybe like just the most minor inconvenience. Um, anyway, once you've adapted to the like 16 or equivalent hour fast, you'll get comfortable with it. And in some cases, you may actually just want to do that 16, 20-hour fast. Like if you're really busy during the day, you may not want to take time to eat. You may not want to get up from that project. It may be inconvenient. You may be out somewhere where it's hard to get food, et cetera, et cetera. Or you may just be doing something and you need your energy levels to be stable, not fluctuating because you eat. And once you break that food addiction, you'll be able to look at it objectively and say, hey, if I break from this to go get some fast food, not only am I going to be less productive, but I'm gonna have to take time away from what I'm doing to go get food. It's also gonna make me have an energy crash, and then I'm going to be fighting through that energy crash trying to get the rest of my work done for the day. And in a lot of cases, that's going to be, when you look at it objectively, it'll be more pleasant to just skip eating and just go through the workday. Or like for a drive, like even when I'm on vacation, I almost always fast if I have a long drive because it's just so much more pleasant to just get the drive over with than to try to fight like sleepiness on the road. There's nothing worse than being sleepy on the road. You know what I mean? That's miserable. So like there's no degree of hunger to me that is less pleasant than being sleepy on the road. So even if I'm on vacation, chilling, not even thinking about fat loss, I'll probably do some form of intermittent fasting on a long drive day, just so I don't have to deal with all that. And that's where this duration of fast, something in the duration of It's not defined as 16. It's whatever's convenient for your day. Like whenever it's convenient for you to stop work or driving or whatever that you may be doing, like hiking, for example. A lot of times I'll hike fasted because last thing you want is to be hiking up a mountain all full and stuffed with food. That's miserable, right? So if I'm going for a hike, it's not necessarily that I'm just trying to burn fat. It's just like I don't want to be like full up like going up a mountain. That's freaking miserable, right? So just once you're adapted to 16-hour fasts, you'll find, or 20 or whatever the case may be, you'll find yourself, not always, certainly not every day, but but you know, fairly regularly, if you're a busy person or you're an active person, you'll find yourself just choosing to do it just because you want to, not because you're trying to lose fat. That makes it kind of a passive ability, kind of like in a video game, like passives are powerful. Now, they don't necessarily do a lot by themselves, but the cool thing is they're always on. You don't have to burn any resources or like waste any time doing it. You just always get that benefit, and that's what the 16-hour fast becomes if you practice it, because it's something where you're not going to have to use your willpower or actively try to create a calorie deficit. It's just going to be something you just choose to do because you want to. So that makes it kind of a passive strategy. And that's helpful for, when life comes at you, you get busy, you have kids, whatever the case may be. It reverses the polarity of a big problem a lot of people run into that that throws them off track in terms of body composition. That when you get busy, you're tired or stressed or whatever the case may be, you know, then you start eating bad food because it's the only food available. But if you're practicing fasting, there's a good chance you're going to decide, oh, hey, I just won't eat today. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. If I eat, I'm going to crash. I didn't get any sleep last night, so I know if I eat this, if I go to McDonald's and get a burger, I'm going to crash afterwards, right? So let me just skip eating today. So it prevents the thing that derails many people. So if used properly, I would actually put 16 up in S tier. Okay, I don't know why am I not able to put it in S tier? This am I Oh man, I screwed this video up. Can I put this in S tier now? Okay. Okay, you guys are gonna have to deal with me just like scrolling up and down. Whatever. Anyway, it's an S tier if used properly, but if you didn't use it properly, it would probably be down in C tier. I'll just scroll up, throw it in C tier so you can see what I'm doing. This is where it would be if you're just trying to do, honestly, the keto body thing, and I'm just going to not eat for the first like 16 hours every day. That's going to go in C tier. Not the best option for creating a calorie deficit. But if you just practice it enough to where you A, move on to longer fasts, and B, just get to use it as a passive ability, then it's definitely going to be an S tier, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, like I said, the reason a lot of people go with 16 is because they're afraid they'll lose muscle if they do anything longer. I know, Greg has said that. I've argued with him that's not true. And I mean, great physique or great shoulders. The guy looks exactly the way he wants to look, so good for him. But I don't think he's made any gains in a long time. And frankly, I'm carrying a lot more mass than he is doing much longer fasts. So, like, I can tell you the muscle loss is not an issue. Okay, moving on. 24. This is the first kind of really uncomfortable fast, skip breakfast, skip lunch, okay, but this is basically going a whole day without food. Depending on how you do it, you probably have to stop eating at 6 and 6 in the evening, and then resume eating at 6 the next day. Honestly, I'm gonna put this one straight in D tier, not F tier. One, because F isn't on this list for whatever reason, but also because none of these fasts are going to be an F tier because um, you can see the ones that I'm going to rank very low. Um, they're still a stepping stone because you want to progress into this gradually. So once you're familiar with 16-hour fasts, you might want to do 24 just as a stepping stone to get into longer length fasts. But as far as a like long term strategy for an experienced faster, 24-hour faster trash. Um, like the first day of a long fast is always the worst day. So if you're relying on 24-hour fasts for your fat loss, you're just doing the worst day of a fast over and over again. That's miserable. And it's something that's disruptive enough that you don't want to do it all the time because you still have to go a whole day without eating, and that's miserable. Um, but it's not going to do that much for you that you can just do one every so often and you get benefits from it. You're you're going to have to, if you wanted to lose fat at a decent rate, you'd have to do this like once or at least once or twice a week to get anything out of it. So like just a 24-hour fast once or twice a week, like every week, that's kind of miserable. You're not going to probably get a whole lot in terms of um, actual benefits of fasting, like the esoteric health stuff like growth hormone, all that stuff. Probably not any more autophagy than you would from just a regular calorie deficit. So yeah, 24 trash. Um, 36. What are we gonna do with 36? Well, honestly, pretty much exactly like 24. It's a good stepping stone. Once you do a 36-hour fast, you can just stop eating in the evening and then don't eat the entire next day, wake up the next morning and eat. So that's a good stepping stone because now you've crossed the boundary of going to bed hungry. Okay, so you crossed the boundary. Congratulations. You woke up in the morning, you didn't die, and mentally you crossed a big hurdle. So that's going to unlock, further levels of fasting, right? But that being said, I mean, it's just not a good option for an experienced faster. Um, all the same things that I said about 24 apply just as much to 36. It's not going to do that much for you that you don't have to do it frequently. You'd have to do it at least once a week. And that might not even work depending on how disciplined you are for the rest of the week, because this is the one where I could very easily see you making up those calories. You probably burn probably a pound of fat if you do a 36-hour fast, but you have the whole next day to start eating again. And I could very easily see you put that on throughout the rest of the week. And not only that, for an experienced faster, once you wake up on that second day, you're actually feeling pretty good. The first day kind of sucks, to be honest with you, but once you get into that second day, you're feeling good. So we did the hard part. We crossed the hurdle. We got into it. Now we're having a good day, and now we're going to break the fast. That just doesn't make any kind of sense. It's just it you're going through all the suck and you're not getting the benefit. And on top of that, you have a whole day to just start, cramming your face and um, undoing all the gains that you made, right? So that's not really a good option. So moving on, instead of hours, we're just going to be going in terms of days because I don't like to do a specific set number of hours. I like to talk in terms of days. So when we get into a 2 day fast, I don't necessarily do a 48-hour fast. I usually do more like a 44-hour fast. And that's a massive upgrade over the 36-hour fast because now you get to have that whole good day. And then let's say I do a 44-hour fast. Now I'm just going to break that fast at the end of the day. I'm going to eat, a little broth to start with and then some light protein to just get my digestive system back working again. So, I'll eat very, very little on that day where I break the fast, and the next day I can eat normally. And now, we've had 2 full days of not eating. That's a good little calorie deficit that we've created. You're definitely not gonna, break the fast, with 4 hours to go. And number one, that's not much time. Number two, like your digestive system's going to be kind of shut off, so you're going to need to get into it slowly. You're probably going to eat very little when you reintroduce food. So honestly, a 48-hour fast is pretty good. That's where it starts to get good because you've broken through that first day that kind of sucks into the day that's kind of good. And you're going to lose a significant amount of weight. I mean, you could probably get away with once every 2 weeks of a 48-hour fast would probably give you a decent rate of fat loss. Now, that being said, you have to still be fairly disciplined on your other days because you're not doing that much that, if you just go ham and say I do fasting, I can just eat whatever I want, you might still, undo a lot of the work that you've done, but it's still good. We're gonna put it up into, I guess, it's a low A, maybe a B plus. Um I, I'm still not the biggest fan. So you know what? I'm gonna bring 14. I mean, skipping breakfast sucks. It's not even fasting. Like it's got some value, but it kind of sucks. So I'm gonna move that down just to just to make room for the 48-hour fast. Solid option, very solid B tier, high B tier, good option, but there are definitely better options out there. And we're about to get to one. The 36-hour fast, in my opinion, for an experienced faster is the way to go. These are fantastic. Now you're getting basically 3 whole days of fat loss. Once you've gotten through that first day, the next 2 days are a cruise. You can knock out if you're fairly disciplined with your eating for the rest of the month. You can knock out if you're not trying to lose fat at a crazy rate. That's almost like a month's fat loss. Not quite, maybe I guess 3 weeks worth, but you're knocking out a good chunk of fat loss in a very short time. No day is going to suck that bad. The first day is not that great, but the next 2 days are going to be fine. I've been doing these regularly. I've been working out on all days and doing a hard workout, even hitting PRs on the third day right before I break my fast. So, like for a bodybuilder or athlete, this is a fantastic choice. It's a really, really good balance of giving you a lot of fat loss all at once. It's really hard to undo. But at the same time, it's fairly flexible. You can plan around it. You're not going to be like out of commission, unable to, eat food with the family, have drinks with the boys, whatever the case may be, for that long. You can plan it around your so unless you have like a super active life where you have like happy hours every day or whatever the case may be, you'll be able to plan around your social life, your family life without too much disruption. And you only have to do it like once once a month for fairly moderate fat loss, twice a month for aggressive fat loss. Maybe optimal might be once every 3 weeks, but that's really not a lot of time. You could fit 3 days into that kind of time frame, right? So we are going to put that straight into. I'm gonna have to do my little shift thing. Unfortunately, I do apologize for this, but you guys can bear with me. So yeah, the 3 day fast is going to be in the top of S tier, definitely above the 16. That's the best for a fairly, for an advanced like bodybuilder, active fitness person. 3 days are fantastic. 4 days. 4 days, now we're starting to get to the point where this is kind of clunky. We're spending a lot of time doing this. This might interfere a little bit more with the social life, the family life, things of that nature. You get more fat loss, okay. Oh, and one thing, sorry, I'm not putting 4 in the B tier. I just want to go back up to the 3 day fast again and promote it even more. It's going to get promoted twice. That's awesome, right? Also, if you look at the scientific stuff, like I said, I wasn't going to get too deep into this, but this 3 days is where you should be getting basically all the like hormonal benefits of it. You should have gotten a lot. I mean, you should have been in ketosis for a while. You should be getting a lot of growth hormone release, I believe, by the second day, but definitely the third day. If there's going to be some autophagy at a greater level than just what a calorie deficit would create, which my understanding is that once you get into multi-day fast, you are going to be dealing with some autophagy, which restores your cells, just basically helps you heal in a lot of ways, reduces inflammation, all that good stuff. You're gonna get a lot of that in the 3 day fast, and you may even get some stem cells released on the third day. So that's a tremendous restorative benefit if it's happening. We're not going to get too deep into that, but I just wanted to mention that's another day. That's another reason why 3 is so great, because that's kind of the first length where you get pretty much all the benefits of fasting that there are according to science. Your mileage may vary, but that's if you want to kind of optimize for what's the shortest duration to fast where I can actually get like the full benefits, it's 3, right? So another reason 3 is so awesome. Now back to 4. With your 4 day fast, it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit clunkier. That being said, you get to hang out and chill with those benefits a little bit longer because with the 3 day fast, you're kind of dipping your toe in the water, getting all that good stuff happening, and then cutting it off, right? Nothing wrong with that. You'll still burn a good chunk of fat, but 4 days will sink it in a little bit better. Um, you can legitimately say that you burned a month's worth of fat in 4 days. So if you want to do one 4 day fast a month, it's a pretty good trade off. Um, that for getting through that third and fourth day is a little bit more rough. Towards getting like not like the third day you usually get through fine, but then having to go to sleep hungry that fourth day or that third day and then wake up on the fourth day. That's kind of rough. It can interfere with your training more. Not, it's still not bad. I can still usually get a good workout on the fourth day, but it's a longer block where, I mean, you probably can't. Usually I'll have to do kind of lighter, like mobility type workouts or accessories, the first couple days, and then you do a hard workout on the last day. You probably can't do like a super heavy bodybuilding workout all 4 days. So now we're starting to get into interrupting your training schedule. You can train around a 3 day fast. I mean, if you need to train, you can train hard. Really, if you do a 3 day fast, you can train hard like 5 days out of that week, and maybe a little bit lighter 2 days. Now, 4 day fast, you're restricting it to you get like you get a fewer good days of training. That being said, it still works and it's still a good option and it's a nice chunk. I mean, basically if you just average it to a pound a day, I mean you basically just did your month's fat loss in 4 days. So that's a pretty good trade-off. So we're definitely going to call that A tier. Very solid option, but getting a little bit clunkier. 5 days. Where are we going to put 5 days? I didn't just put it in A tier. Again, you're starting to get a little bit harder to fit around a social life, a little bit harder to fit around your workout schedule. You're probably going to have to curtail your workouts to a certain degree to make a 5 day fast work. I mean, you can't be, hitting. You're probably not going to be able to hit a hard back workout the first day. You know, hard upper body session second day, hard leg session, third day, etc. Right? You're not going to be able to just keep breaking yourself down and not see a performance drop off on that long of a fast. It's going to interfere with your training a little bit. It's going to be a lot harder to plan around your family or whatever. If you only have 2 days that you're eating, family and friends, it's going to be a little bit hard to plan around. So that's going to be clunkier. That said, it chunks a ton of fat loss into a short duration. So I'm still going to put it in B tier, but it's going to be more niche. It's going to be more for if you're, you know, basically if you have a lot of fat loss to go, you're probably going to want to chunk it into bigger chunks, but it's not going to be the best for everyone. All right, let's move on to where we at. I'm going to not do every single day. We'll skip the 7 days. 7 days, like just a more extreme version of 5. This is not something I would recommend for anyone who's fairly low body fat. Like now we're going to get to the point where maybe your body would start to, you know, find a way to decrease the metabolism by perhaps letting you cut muscle. You're not going to lose muscle on like a 3 or 4 day fast. I promise you that. As soon as you start eating again, especially if you're working out, your body's gonna believe that you need that muscle just as much as you always did, and it'll give it back to you once you start eating again. Maybe some tissue gets broken down, but whatever the case may be, you're gonna if any does get broken down, you're gonna build it back. I promise you, you don't have to worry about that. I feel like if a sufficiently lean person starts doing like seven, like week long fast, I haven't really I haven't experimented with it enough to tell you one way or the other. But at a certain point, your body is going to start trying to conserve energy, reduce your calorie needs. So, I mean, it's kind of risky. You're going to have, and it's going to interfere with your workouts to do a 7 day fast. So it's probably not consistent with performance based goals. That being said, if you're just a person that's, got a weight problem and you have a long way to go, you might need to just take big chunks out of it just to establish momentum, and just see the benefits. Because one of the best things about fasting, one of the most motivating things, and we're gonna go up to talk about 3 day again. Huh. Imagine that. One of the coolest things about a 3 day fast, when you're fairly lean, like I am. I'm not super shredded, but I'm in, mostly I go from like the high teens to the low teens, bulk and cut. Anyway, in that range, you will see visible differences in 3 days if you do a 3 or 4 day fast. So that's why those are awesome. Obviously, you'd see more on a 7 day fast. Where I'm going with this is when people have higher body fat, you might not necessarily see those visible changes quite as quickly. So, something like a 7 day fast might be a good way to chunk that up to where you do actually see and feel a noticeable difference quickly to just, give yourself a sense of efficacy. Hey, I can do this. Look at all the progress I've made. Even if you have pretty bad eating habits, you're going to have a really hard time making up for 7 days of um, complete fasting. I don't know what I don't know what the someone do the math, like 3,500 calories times seven. That's how many calories you'd have to eat to screw that up. Like you're gonna have a hard time screwing that up, to be honest with you, right? So if you have a long way to go, don't drag it out. Don't do trench warfare until you lose. Like just go over the top and make some progress towards your goal. And something like a 5, 6, 7 day or even longer fast, depending on how heavy you are, could be just the thing to give you like fast, noticeable, tangible progress that you can't just have like a cheat meal and undo, right? So 7 day fast, it's kind of niche, so that's why it's going in B, but it can definitely be valuable. And now we're getting to the last length on this list, which is 382. 382 hours? No, 382 days. And that is, as far as I know, the record for fasting, which is held by this gentleman, Angus Barbieri, who did a medically supervised fast of 382 days, not hours, drinking basically sparkling water, tea, coffee, water, vitamin supplements, under medical supervision. I think he started out at like 600 pounds and went down to like 180. So you can see in this picture, I mean, tremendous weight loss, fantastic. I mean, this guy, in my opinion, is an absolute hero. He's pushing boundaries just as much as any bodybuilder, power lifter, marathon runner. Like he ventured into the unknown. He did something that he did not know if he was going to come back from. No one knew if you would live if you tried that, but he tried it, and we all learned from his courage and his willingness to just get out there and try something new. So, that's fantastic. We learn from that you can fast for a long time if you have enough body fat and be a okay. Now, again, he started out at I believe 600 pounds, so obviously somebody who only weighs like 280, who's chunky and needs to lose some weight, can't do 300 days, obviously. But I mean, it's just he's kind of the goat in terms of fasting. So obviously 382 is going to go straight to S tier. That doesn't mean you should do it. Obviously, most people would die if they tried that. But it's really good to know that if you have that big of a weight problem, you can just fast until your weight problem is resolved. And that's a message of hope for anybody that's struggling with weight. If you want it, you can do it. And I mean, if you struggle with accountability, any multi-day fast will give you that accountability because you know whether or not you've eaten. So if you do the full fat, if you just don't eat until you've reached your goals, I mean you'll get there. Now again, he did this under medical supervision. He consulted his doctor. He took vitamin supplements that's prescribed by his doctor and everything. So make sure you do it responsibly. I'm not even encouraging you just to go out there and not eat until you reach your body composition goals. Probably not the best idea. Probably better to chunk it into something like 5 day fast, 7 day fast, 3 day fast, whatever the case may be. But it's just good to know that there's a buffer out there between what you may have seen or what you may think is possible and what you're probably going to try and what is actually possible before you die. So I hope that gives you guys a lot more confidence. Anyway, I hope you guys found this interesting. I hope this helps. Um, Fasting has gotten it's been bashed recently a lot, and I think a lot of that is just people expecting too much out of the 16-hour fast, not really understanding what it's utilized for, and just being too paranoid about trying the longer term fast because that's where you get the benefit. You start doing like 3 day fasts. I mean, you're getting 3 weeks worth of fat loss, but the discomfort, the difficulty is just so much less than going through 3 weeks at a 500 a day deficit. You don't have to track calories, anything like that. It's super convenient, a lot more flexible. And honestly, none of those days are all that bad. I mean, every single one of the days is better than a day of like eating 1,000 calories a day, I would say. But especially the second 2 days of a 3 day fast, chill. So hope this helps you if you're interested in trying fasting. And if you like this kind of thing, let me know. I'm actually considering writing a book detailing just making fat loss easy, and it would include fasting strategies as well as dietary strategies and some mindset strategies. Let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in that. I've been tossing around the idea on Instagram. I've just got to decide which projects to devote my time to, and I want to create projects that there's a customer base for. So let me know if that'd be something you'd be interested in. And yeah, anyway, if you like this, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and comments and whatever are appreciated. Thank you for listening. All right, see you guys.